My name is Christy McDonald. I am a professional fine artist and the founder of Everyday May. Everyday May is an online creative challenge that I host every year on Instagram. I started this challenge in 2022 when I actually had strayed from my usual painting practice. And as I wanted to return to the studio, I decided that I would develop a personal painting challenge. Through that, as I started to share that idea with my friends, a small group of us began creating together, and Everyday May became what it is today. I truly believe that every single person, artist, self-proclaimed artist or not, we need it to thrive. We need creativity in our lives. But often, those needs to be creative gets pushed to the side, and we prioritize other aspects of our lives, other more demanding aspects. My hope for Everyday May has always been to inspire creatives of all kinds to feel brave enough to not only begin their artistic journey, but to continue showing up day after day, even beyond the challenge, and to also give them the tools to build consistency in their practice. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about goal setting for Everyday May. Every year, the challenge has evolved, but at its core, the purpose has always been to encourage the pursuit of creativity, no matter what that looks like to you. So this is not just a challenge for painters. It's not just a challenge for fine artists that are trying to make a living off of their art. This challenge is really for everybody. When it comes to setting your goals, I really wanted this challenge to be flexible and really give you, the person who's participating, the opportunity to build and make the challenge what you really want it to be and to get the most out of your own personal goals. So how you approach the challenge is completely up to you. While it is called Everyday May, you do not need to participate every day. The whole purpose of it is to be able to create sustainability and focus on building more consistency. And we do that by first setting creative intentions, creative goals. And so as you go to approach this challenge and you go to set your own goals, I really want you to think about what you want for this month, what you want from this challenge, but also how that relates to your overall plan. I really want you to think about this idea of what your why is, why you're showing up, and what you want to get out of it. Do you want more consistency? Do you want more rest? Do you want more balance? And kind of build your goals off of that. And I am going to share my own personal goals so that you can kind of get a sense of how I'm approaching the challenge in hopes that it might inspire you and how you might face this challenge. So I really think that an important call out with Everyday May is the fact that it is a social media challenge and it's 31 days. Now, again, you do not need to post every day. You don't even need to create something every day. But I do think it's important that you create time-focused tasks or you do get specific with your goal setting. There's two parts to this because, again, it is a social media challenge and we want to encourage other creatives to join us and we want to share our journeys. We want to talk about this process. And there's two ways to do this. You can do this through posts, which include carousel posts or reels, whatever you enjoy doing. And then there's also Instagram stories. Instagram stories are really nice because they expire after 24 hours. And I actually really love using this tool because it allows me to be a little bit more casual, whereas a post I feel is something that needs a little bit more thought and consideration. So both of those things count towards giving you entries into the final giveaway. And then I want you to create goals that are sustainable for you, especially since this is a month-long challenge. I don't want you to burn out. So considering your energy levels. So if you have another full-time job or a part-time job, all of these things need to be taken into consideration when you're developing your goals because the last thing I want you to do is to give yourself too much and not be able to do it because that never feels good. In addition to figuring out how often you will post in your stories or post in your feed, like come up with a number, come up with a rough idea of what you want. And if you don't reach that, just kind of adjust as the challenge goes on. This challenge is not meant to put you in a box and make you feel like you're stuck to a schedule and you have to do it. it can be flexible throughout the month. The whole purpose is, are you creating more? Are you prioritizing your creativity? That is the whole purpose of it. So whatever you can do to achieve that, it's very important. There is the goal side of this in terms of how often you'll post, but then there's also the other part of it, which is really truly the heart of everything. It is setting a creative goal for yourself. And I do want you to be specific with this. So do you want to create a painting every week if you're a painter? It's totally open to interpretation, and whatever you want to do it. Last year, I had a friend who did this challenge, and she actually made a sketch of a hummingbird every single day. And at the end of the month, she actually ended up with a whole book full of hummingbird sketches, which that's a really attainable goal because she had the time to sit down for 30 minutes and that was it. And from that, I believe that she was able to come up with new ideas that would turn into more finished art pieces in the future, larger pieces. There's a whole series that got inspired from these sketches that she made. So it can be something that's a little bit more preliminary in your planning stages. It doesn't just have to be like this finished, perfect masterpiece that you're working on every single day. But if you want it to be, it can be as well. Just make sure it's something that you can sustain. So there's two parts of that. There is the amount of time you're going to spend on making posts. Are you going to post every day? Are you going to post every day in your stories? Are you going to do a post in your feed every day? Or is it going to be a combination? And you don't even have to post every single day. And then there's the creative aspect of that. Ultimately, whatever you're doing, just come up with an idea and you can adjust as we go throughout the month, as long as you're staying consistent and you can achieve your goals. And the last thing I want you to feel at the end of this challenge is discouraged, to look at your work and be critical or feel that you did not do enough. That is the last thing that I want. I want you to walk away from this feeling inspired and encouraged. And I want you to look at the month and say, I achieved this. I achieved consistency. I showed up for myself, whatever that looks like. So now I want to share my personal approach and my personal ambitions for May this year. And I kind of want to start with my overarching plans for this year, just because I think it will give a little bit of context. I am a professional fine artist. I work full-time. I paint full-time. That is my job. That is what I do. So obviously I have a lot more time than, say, someone who's doing another job. But my goals for this year, I usually sit down at the beginning of the year and I kind of plan out each quarter. And I came up with a really lofty painting goal earlier this year because I can't control how many people purchase my work. But in the past, I've always kind of looked at collections, and I've noticed that I have a habit of kind of taking these long periods of time away, whether it's for traveling, which is also part of my creative process. It's where I develop new ideas. It's where I get inspiration. And I just feel like last year, I rested and traveled quite a bit. It's not wasted time. But this year, for 2025, I really wanted to focus on creating consistently. And I mean that in the sense that I am not going to take long breaks where I'm not painting. The purpose of this was because at the beginning of the year, I said I'm wanting to work towards doing a solo exhibition. But in order to do that, I want to have a lot more work. And on average, I've been able to paint about 24 paintings, like good, solid, finished paintings in a year. And I want to try to maybe double that this year. In order to do that, though, it's going to require me staying consistent and showing up in the studio. To tie this back to Everyday May and how it relates to my overall vision for this year, I know that I need to get into the studio. But this May is a little bit different than past Mays. Since 2022, when I started Everyday May, every year I've typically been really focused on hosting this annual creative challenge and resting, because there is a show that I've been doing since 2022. It's a big art show in Toronto called The Artist Project. It's usually happened in April, so the month before Everyday May. But this year is different. It's actually happening May 8th to the 11th. So obviously this presented a really interesting challenge for me, because I am going to be not only hosting this challenge, but I'm going to be releasing a new collection and having a large exhibit in the Artist Project this year, all in the first half of May. So if I'm being completely honest, I did actually consider either postponing or canceling Everyday May this year, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So that made me get creative. That made me think, how am I going to approach this challenge while also looking back at my overarching plan for this year? And how can I bring these two things together in a way that honors my goals for the year and my energy for not only this challenge, but for a show like Artist Project? It requires months of planning and painting. And I typically create a large new collection. So that's like half of my paintings typically for a year go towards that show. I had to get a little bit creative with how I was going to personally show up for this challenge this year because of everything that I had going on. So I decided to create a series that I'm going to call A Month in the Life of an Artist. And that is essentially my approach to Everyday May this year. I'm going to be sharing behind the scenes. I'm going to be sharing what it takes to get ready for a collection release. I'm going to be sharing what it takes to get ready for an exhibit like the Artist Project. And then that's going to be the first part of my month, the first 2 weeks, because Artist Project is happening May 8th to the 11th. And then the following week on May 15th, I am doing the official public release for my new collection called The In-Between. And then the second half of the month, I'm getting back to my creativity. I'm looking at maybe not hopping right back into the studio immediately the day after Artist Project, but I really want that second portion of the month to be focused on creating new habits and routines that are sustainable. Because right now I'm in the studio every day painting, pretty much every day. And I have been for the past few months. And while these periods of time are really intense before a show, I can't maintain that type of energy output for the rest of the year. So my focus for the second half of the month is making sure that I give myself a day or two of a little bit of rest, but then not taking too long and getting back into a routine. So you can see I've already identified, based on my current aspirations, based on what's happening in my life, how I'm splitting up Everyday May into 2 chunks. So the first half of the month and then the second half of the month. And they each have their own specific goals and reasoning behind them. And it's all overarching into this series that I'm calling A Day in the Life of an Artist. So that's my approach. I'm going to be sharing my process. I'm going to be sharing my new paintings. I'm going to be doing all of the things that I would normally do leading up to a showcase like this, and sort of documenting that process and sharing bits of it with you. So that's the what I'm doing. And now for the social media aspect of this, I can almost guarantee you that I'm going to be doing something for my business every single day, especially for the first half. Now, when it comes to posting reels, carousel posts, or Instagram stories, my goal is to show up at almost, if not every day, almost every day in my Instagram stories. I find that really easy to do, and it's where I can get really casual and share the raw behind the scenes. And then when it comes to posting, I think right now as it stands, I'm going to try to post 5 to 7 days a week, but there might be some days or weeks where I'm posting a little bit less. But my daily interactions will mostly happen on Instagram stories. So I hope that gives you a practical understanding of how I'm approaching this challenge personally, why it's different than previous years for me. And I hope that you can gather some inspiration for your own goals and how it relates to not only the month of May, but maybe for the next 6 months of your life, or maybe the next year, and how you can really shape this challenge so that you can get the most out of it. I'm right there with you, but this year is really different in that sense that I'm going to be like going through things with you in both my business as an artist, and also a journey of coming back to myself and my creative process after something so highly energetic like an art show or like a collection release. I'm really excited to bring you on that journey with me. I'm really excited to share the behind the scenes of it and answer any questions that you might have for me. I hope this video was helpful for you and you will find inspiration to set your own goals and join us for Everyday May. Make sure that you do sign up with the link, and I look forward to seeing everything that you will make this year.